Welcome once again to another Chef Knives to Go Quick Look product review. I'm Steve Gamache, and what we're looking at this time is the Fugen Kudauchi Shidogami or White Number 1 Petty 120mm knife. So this line of knives has a core steel of Shidogami, or what's known as White Paper Number 1, reactive high carbon steel from Hitachi. They take it to kind of a medium hardness around 61. That's what they shoot for. It's not a scientific measured, kind of thing they do with all the knives, but they're hand hammered and, banged out by hand and hand heat treated. So that's kind of what they shoot for. So that's kind of nice because Shidogami number 1 is super easy to sharpen, and something in this medium range, 61-ish, will be really nice on the stones. So construction is soft iron reactive cladding on either side of that core steel. So there's 3 layers, one on each side, and then the core harder steel. The cladding does have a Kudauchi or blacksmith finish. Based on my experience with the other knives in this group that I've got, the Kudauchi is not real durable, so it may start to wear off somewhat quickly. Don't be alarmed by that. That's not unusual with some lines of knives. So it'll just, over time, it'll start to wear, and then you can, have a knife with some, used toolish character to it. So the weights and dimensions on these will vary a little bit knife to knife since they're handmade, but this one's about 59 grams or 2.1 ounces, very light. The edge length is about 122 on the edge, or a little under 5 inches, and the overall length's about 9.6 inches. The spine thickness coming out of the handle on this particular one, again, those will vary a little bit. On this particular one, it's about 2.8 millimeters, but then it thins out real quick. And about halfway down, I measured about 1.9, and then you can see it starts to taper slightly off of that, but then it thins out really where the tip, when you get to the grind on this. So these actually are ground pretty thin at the edge, so they've got good performance. Blade height is 32 1/4 on this one, so fairly tall blade, definitely kind of more of a mini, almost a mini Funuyuki type style, mini Gyuto style, you can see, not really the utility style, real short one. The handle on these is just basic. These are made to a price point, so they knock them out pretty quick, throw a basic handle on them. And it's an oval handle, is hoe wood with a resin or plastic ferrule, and that ferrule is kind of a collar, so there's always a little bit of a step between the wood and the ferrule normally on these. And you've got usually some little gaps there where they've got the slot kind of drilled out where the tangle's in, so you want to seal that up. Handle circumference about 66 or 2.6 inches, 66 millimeters. So it's a small handle, and it's appropriate for this size knife. Let's take a close-up look at it. They do bang these out pretty quick to hit a price point, and so I think they do a nice job on them. All but one that I looked at was really pretty straight out of the box and had a pretty decent profile on it. The Chef Knives to Go is looking at all of these that come out of the box, though, and they're going to go ahead and take care of any issues. They're going to straighten the blade if they need to. They're going to do a finish sharpening if the profile needs a little work. So you might get one of these that's finish sharpened, and you'll see a card in the box that tells you that and gives you the progression that was used and who sharpened it. So if that's the case, you'll get a screaming sharp knife out of the box. The rest of them I've looked at were about, I'd say 5 out of 10, just kind of an average edge, but they sharpen up really easy. They tend to have a 50-50 style grind, and they've also got a little bit of a concave to the blade face, which helps food release, which is pretty cool. You can see on the left side of the blade, they have a embossed kanji on there, and they've relieved the spine a little and the choil a little, so they're very comfortable out of the box. So, for this price point, they do a nice job on them. If your balance point on this is going to be kind of far back because the blade's so small, I'd say the balance point, it's right in there on these. So some people like 120 petties because they can kind of split the difference between a paring knife and a knife for board work. This one's a tall petty, so it may or may not work for you, but you can do some in-hand work with it if you need to. It's a little bit on the tall side. But if you do a very occasional in-hand work or hulling strawberries or things like that where you need the tip, and you don't want a full-on dedicated paring knife for total paring or in-hand work, this might do the job for you, and then you can use it for some board work as well. Just depends on what you're looking to do with the knife. So here is the profile, just in case you want to see. And you do have a fair amount of clearance there. You can always work with it off the side of the board if you need a lot of clearance, but it'll do board work if you want it to. profile. It doesn't have the tip's fairly low. You can see the kind of shark kind of shaped point on there. Aggressive shape, low tip. So it doesn't rock real high, but it's a real smooth profile and kind of a gentle curve throughout. Good little utility style knife. I should say mini gyuto, but useful for all kinds of stuff. So there you have a cool little blade. This is the Fugen Kudauchi Shirogami or white number 1 Petty 120 millimeter knife.